There are wounds inside you that never came from violence, only silence. The quiet neglect, the unspoken expectations, the invisible pressure to grow up too soon. You've carried those memories not as moments, but as muscle tension wrapped around your heart, shaping how you trust, love, and see yourself. But healing doesn't always come through breakthroughs or battles. Sometimes it begins with a whisper, 5 simple words, each one a doorway, each one a way back to the child inside you, the one who still waits to be seen, held, and told that they were never the problem. This isn't a guide to fix yourself. It's a mirror to remember the parts of you that survived, the softness that still remains, and the voice you were always meant to hear, your own. So breathe, slow down, and let these 5 simple truths find their way home to you. Subscribe for more reflections that help you reconnect with your soul and heal what words once broke. 1. I see you. There is a kind of pain that doesn't scream, it hides. It hides behind achievement, behind humor, behind the way you always say, I'm fine. But somewhere underneath, there's a younger version of you who has been waiting for someone to notice, not to fix, not to explain, just to see. That child remembers the moments when no one did, when your sadness was called drama, your excitement was called too much, your silence mistaken for peace. Over time, you learned how to disappear while standing right in front of everyone. You blended in. You became self-sufficient. And you told yourself that being unseen was safer than being misunderstood. But the truth is, invisibility is exhausting. It wears down the soul one unnoticed feeling at a time. The first act of healing isn't found in therapy or philosophy. It begins with recognition. With the words, I see you. Say them slowly, not as a mantra, but as a homecoming. When you say, I see you, to your inner child, you tell them that their tears were never an overreaction. Their laughter was never foolish. Their sensitivity was never weakness. You validate the small moments no one ever cared enough to hold. You see the kid who felt responsible for everyone's peace, the one who pretended not to notice when love came with conditions. The one who tried to shrink their brightness so others could stay comfortable. You see them now, clearly, without judgment. This is how invisibility dissolves. Not through force, but through presence. To truly see your inner child means to look at yourself without filters. No denial, no justification. Just truth, raw and compassionate. Because that's all they ever wanted, someone to notice without needing them to perform. When you sit with yourself in silence, in tears, or even in anger, and simply say, I see you, something shifts. The armor loosens, the walls soften. The child who once hid begins to trust again. And trust is what healing really is. The slow, sacred return to safety. You don't need anyone else to see you for you to be real. You just need you. So find a quiet space. Place your hand on your chest. Feel the pulse that has carried you through every invisible battle. And whisper it again, this time not as a wish, but as a truth. I see you. That's how you bring the forgotten parts of your soul back into the light. That's how you begin to feel whole again. 2. It's not your fault. Somewhere along the way, the child inside you decided that everything was their responsibility. The arguments, the silence, the sadness in the room that no one explained. When adults broke, you thought it was because you weren't good enough to hold them together. So you started fixing, or at least trying to. You smiled when you didn't feel like it. You tried to make people laugh to calm the tension, to be easy. And when it didn't work, when the people you loved still hurt, you blamed yourself. That's how it starts, the invisible inheritance of guilt. It settles in your body, quiet but heavy. You learn to apologize even when you've done nothing wrong. You learn to overthink every silence. You learn to perform peace so others don't have to face their chaos. But here's the truth your heart has been waiting to hear. It was never your fault. It wasn't your fault that the adults around you didn't know how to love without conditions. It wasn't your fault that they couldn't see your sensitivity as strength. It wasn't your fault that you were born into pain that existed long before you arrived. You didn't break the system. You were born into one that was already broken. When you tell your inner child, it's not your fault, you're not just saying words, you're returning innocence to a heart that carried too much too soon. You're handing back the weight that was never yours to bear. Say it again. It's not your fault. Let the words echo in places where shame used to live. You'll feel resistance, that small voice that says, but maybe I could have done more. That voice is the remnant of survival. It believes guilt equals control, that if you were responsible, then maybe you could have fixed it. But guilt is just a ghost of safety. It kept you busy so you didn't have to face helplessness. You were never meant to fix what hurt you. You were meant to outgrow it. So now, as an adult, your healing is not about proving worth, it's about releasing blame. The more you forgive yourself for things you never caused, the more space you create for truth. And the truth is, you were always innocent, always worthy, always enough. Sit with that. Let the child within you rest for once. No more over-explaining, no more apologizing for existing, no more carrying the emotional debris of others. You were a child, not a savior, a witness, not the cause. Whisper it once more, like a prayer that reclaims your past. It's not your fault, and this time, believe it, because your freedom depends on it. 3. You are safe now. There's a part of you that never stopped flinching, even when no one's yelling, even when the door isn't slamming, even when nothing's wrong. Your body remembers what your mind tried to forget. That constant tension in your chest, that habit of overanalyzing every word, that readiness to defend or please, those aren't personality traits. They're survival codes. You learned them young in environments that didn't always feel stable. And even now, as an adult, you still wait for the next wave to crash. You keep your guard up, scanning for the smallest signs of danger. The war ended long ago, but your nervous system never got the memo. That's why these 4 words matter more than any advice, any affirmation, any apology you've been waiting for. You are safe now. Say them slowly. Let each word sink into your bones. Because for years, your inner child has been living in hypervigilance, trying to predict chaos, to earn safety through perfection, to anticipate disappointment before it arrives. But you can't heal while you're bracing for impact. You are not there anymore. You are here in this moment. And in this moment, nothing is attacking you. Nothing is being demanded of you. You don't have to fix, defend, or disappear. You just have to be. This is what safety feels like. The ability to sit in silence without waiting for something bad to happen. the courage to rest without guilt, the quiet realization that you don't need to prove you deserve peace. Tell your inner child that the storm has passed. Tell them that they can put down their armor now. Tell them that your body is no longer a battlefield. It's home. Sometimes you'll have to repeat it daily, especially when old fears come rushing in, or when you catch yourself shrinking in the presence of authority, or when love feels too calm to trust. In those moments, place your hand over your heart and whisper, "You are safe now." The more you say it, the more your nervous system begins to believe you. The muscles unclench, the breath deepens. The soul starts to feel like it's allowed to live, not just survive. Healing isn't about becoming fearless. It's about realizing you no longer have to live in fear. It's about reminding the part of you that used to hide that the danger has passed, that this version of you has control, awareness, and power. Every time you choose stillness over panic, truth over defense, softness over shame, you're teaching your body safety again. You are no longer trapped in the chaos you were born into. You are not the scared child who had to anticipate every mood. You are the adult who gets to create peace and believe it's real. So breathe, unclench your jaw, drop your shoulders. Let safety become the language your body finally learns to speak. You are safe now, and that changes everything. 4. You deserve love. Somewhere along the line, love became a transaction. Be good and you'll be loved. Be quiet and you'll be accepted. Be useful and you'll be kept. You learned early that affection could vanish, that warmth depended on performance. And so you adapted. You became who they needed you to be, not who you actually were. You overgave, you over-explained, you over-apologized for simply existing. But no matter how much you gave, love never felt safe. It was conditional, like a door that could shut at any moment. So you built your identity around earning it. That's why the words "you deserve love" feel foreign at first. They challenge everything you've been programmed to believe. They invite you to receive what you were trained to chase. You deserve love, not because you've achieved enough, not because you've healed enough, not because you've proven you're different now, but because you are alive. Your worth didn't begin the moment someone else saw it. It was there when you took your first breath. It's been there under every apology, every act of people-pleasing, every attempt to be chosen. When you tell your inner child you deserve love, you're rewriting the language of survival. You're teaching them that love is not a performance, it's a birthright. You're saying you deserve love even when you're not strong. You deserve love when you cry for reasons you can't explain. You deserve love when you set boundaries and people call you selfish. You deserve love when you're healing slower than others think you should. Love that must be earned isn't love. It's control. And you've had enough of that. So begin small. When you make a mistake, instead of punishing yourself, whisper, "I still deserve love." When you feel unproductive, unmotivated, or unseen, whisper it again, "I still deserve love," because this is the revolution, choosing softness where shame once ruled. The child within you doesn't need another lecture. They need permission to stop performing. They need to know that love can exist without exhaustion. You are not hard to love. You were just surrounded by people who didn't know how to love deeply. And that's not your fault. but it is your responsibility to give yourself what they couldn't. Every time you speak these words, I deserve love, you untangle yourself from a generational story of scarcity. You return to innocence, to the version of yourself who believed that love was natural, not conditional. So look in the mirror. See the softness in your own eyes. Notice the one who never stopped trying to be good enough. And tell them the truth they've been waiting their whole life to hear. You deserve love. Say it until it stops feeling radical. Say it until your nervous system believes you. Say it until love no longer feels like a reward, but a resting place. 5. I forgive you. Forgiveness isn't a single act. It's a soft, trembling return to yourself. And it doesn't start with forgiving others. It starts with forgiving you, because somewhere inside your inner child still believes they ruined something, that they should have known better, done better, been better. They replay the moments they froze instead of spoke, the times they stayed silent to avoid anger, the days they hid their truth to keep someone else comfortable. They think it was weakness, but it was survival. So when you whisper, I forgive you, you're not excusing mistakes. You're ending a lifetime of self-blame. You're letting that inner child finally exhale after years of punishment. You forgive the part of you that accepted crumbs and called it love. You forgive the part that kept returning to pain because it was familiar. You forgive the part that confused pleasing with peace. You forgive the one who didn't know how to walk away. You forgive the one who overgave, over-apologized, overworked just to feel worthy of a little tenderness. Forgiveness is not weakness. It's maturity. It's when you finally realize you can't heal in the same energy that hurt you, not even if that energy lives within your own heart. Say it aloud if you can. Feel it vibrate through you. I forgive you. Let the words melt the tension sitting behind your ribs. Let them loosen the grip of shame that's been dictating your story. This isn't about pretending nothing happened. It's about deciding that pain doesn't get to define you anymore. You're not your worst moment. You're not the version of yourself that couldn't see clearly. You're the one who learned. Forgiveness doesn't erase history. It reclaims power. Because when you forgive yourself, you stop looking backward for redemption. You stop needing apologies from people who'll never understand the damage they caused. You realize the only closure that ever truly mattered was the one you give yourself. You start seeing your scars not as reminders of failure, but as evidence of survival. You stop asking, why did I let that happen? And start whispering, thank you for getting me through it. That's what forgiveness sounds like. Gratitude for endurance, compassion for ignorance, freedom from cycles that began before you could even name them. When you tell your inner child, I forgive you, you're really saying you didn't deserve what happened to you. You did what you could with what you knew. And now we can rest. Close your eyes. Picture that younger you, scared, uncertain, still hoping to make everyone happy. See them standing before you. Now take their hands, look them in the eyes, and say softly, I forgive you. You were never the problem. You were always the light. Feel the weight that leaves your chest. That's not weakness leaving. It's self-condemnation dying. Forgiveness is how you end the war within. It's how you finally come home. Healing isn't a grand awakening. It's a quiet reunion between who you were and who you've become. It's sitting in the silence of your own heart and realizing the one you've been trying to save all along was you. Your inner child doesn't need you to be perfect. They just need to know you won't abandon them again. Not when you're tired. Not when you make mistakes. Not when life gets loud. Every time you whisper, "I see you," you remind them they exist. Every time you say, "It's not your fault," you take the weight off their small shoulders. Every time you breathe, "You are safe now," you teach their body that peace is possible. Every time you affirm you deserve love, you return what the world once withheld. And every time you whisper, "I forgive you," you dissolve the final chain. These aren't just words, they're keys. Each one unlocks a part of you that's been waiting in the dark, hoping to be found. The truth is, healing doesn't make you someone new. It brings you back to who you were before the world told you to change. Before the fear, the guilt, the pretending. So tonight, before you sleep, place your hand over your heart. Feel the quiet rhythm that's been with you through it all. And whisper one last time, not as a promise, but as a truth finally remembered. "I am here now. I am whole. I am home." If this spoke to you, subscribe for more reflections like this, and share in the comments. Which of these 5 words did your soul need most today?